Welcome to the official Sales and Marketing for Beauty Conference podcast. This is your go-to destination for real-world insights on building, growing, and thriving in the beauty industry. Whether you're a beauty entrepreneur, a salon or spa owner, a product brand owner, or an aspiring professional, you're in the right place. Each episode is your personal masterclass in beauty entrepreneurship, from sales strategy and social media tips to brand building and behind the scenes stories from industry leaders. SAMB is more than a podcast or an event. We're a year round support system. Mark your calendar for SAMB 2025, our flagship conference happening November 5th through the 7th. It's a virtual event. And so we have a lot of global speakers as well as speakers there in the US and local to New York City. We'll also have some local networking opportunities, and there'll be virtual networking opportunities. And so there'll be hands-on workshops, one-to-one consultations, expert led sessions, all designed to help you scale and succeed and get real actionable strategies and tips to grow the sales and marketing function of your business, right? So stay tuned for the podcast. Make sure you check out our website, and we hope to see you at SAMB 2025.
Today, we're decoding something big, a fundamental revolution in commerce, actually. And we're focusing specifically on one of the sectors that was, well, most dramatically reshaped post-pandemic, the global beauty industry.
Yeah, and we're definitely not talking about just a temporary fix here or some kind of mild trend correction. The global pandemic, it profoundly and I think permanently rewired how consumers behave across the board. So for brands out there prepping their, crucial 2025 strategies, getting this shift isn't just important, honestly. It feels like the difference between thriving and, frankly, sliding towards irrelevance. Our mission today is simple: give you that crucial shortcut. We've synthesized the research, specifically looking at this really powerful material titled Navigating Post-Pandemic Consumer Behavior.
And the goal is to give you the absolute roadmap for understanding this new consumer landscape in beauty and exactly how your brand needs to adapt its marketing for the coming years. We're really moving past just saying, oh, things changed. We want to get into the sophisticated values, the technical expectations that are truly motivating today's buyer.
It really is a complete reset. I mean, if you look at the data, comparing before and after 2020, the shift in what drives purchasing decisions is just staggering. The beauty sector is genuinely emerging into a new reality. The days of, let's say, generic, mass-market, one-size-fits-all advertising, they're officially behind us. The core consumer has changed permanently. They are intensely informed, highly selective, and maybe most importantly, they're driven by a whole new set of values. And these aren't just preferences. They're non-negotiable demands that require real action from brands. We can pretty much define this modern consumer by 4 core demands, which have now become foundational expectations. First, they want a heightened, lasting emphasis on self-care and mental well-being. Second, an uncompromising commitment to sustainability and ethical practices. Third, absolute transparency in everything, from ingredients to, say, packaging carbon footprint. And finally, deeply personal, tailored experiences. So look, if a brand isn't hitting all 4 of those pillars simultaneously, they're probably already struggling to connect. Seriously.
Okay, wow, that's a lot. Let's really unpack this dramatic shift in detail because, yeah, the consequences of ignoring these demands sound, well, huge, right? So we hear this phrase all the time, right? The consumer is more informed. But what does that actually look like? When someone's standing in the beauty aisle, or maybe more likely now, scrolling through a digital store, what really defines this selective post-pandemic beauty consumer?
It means they're starting from a place of values first, and then maybe product effectiveness second. It's a flip. Yeah. The purchase decision isn't just about the promised results anymore. It's about the story behind it, the provenance, the ethics that went into creating that product. They're incredibly selective. I mean, willing to spend actual minutes cross-referencing ingredient lists with regulatory sites, investigating where raw materials come from, looking for real quantifiable data on efficacy, not just, a celebrity saying they like it.
Right. So values first, data second, then maybe the marketing message lands.
Pretty much. And this demands nuance from brands. It fundamentally does. Take the old approach. This product is for oily skin. Simple enough, right? But the new expectation is something like, okay, this product is specifically formulated for my oily skin, but it also accounts for the fact that I live in a low humidity desert climate. And it's formulated to maybe counteract the hormonal impacts of my current stress levels.
Wow.
Yeah. So generic approaches now, they feel lazy,
dismissive even,
and ultimately like a waste of the consumer's time and money.
That is a staggering technical lift for brands, though. How do you possibly deliver that kind of high-touch, personalized nuance at scale, especially when, like you said, so much retail moved online and, well, stayed there?
That's exactly why the demand for digital engagement, for seamless online interaction, is so incredibly high now. It's crucial. It's essentially the trade-off for losing those physical touch points. Think about it. If a consumer can't physically test a product or, talk to an expert in the store, the digital experience has to step up big time. It needs to compensate by being flawless, fast, and extraordinarily informative. The sources we looked at indicate that during lockdowns, digital comfort just skyrocketed, accelerated by what normally might have taken a decade. And that comfort level, it's now a hard expectation. We see really high abandonment rates for digital storefronts that are clunky, or ones that lack immediate, easy-to-find access to detailed info, like ingredient traceability maps or verifiable sustainability reports.
And tying back to that huge value shift you mentioned, the most important piece of that digital expectation seems to be this absolute necessity for brand authenticity. We've definitely seen a lot of brands scramble to adopt purpose-driven messaging, haven't we? But it sounds like today's consumer is pretty sophisticated at spotting, let's say, marketing jargon versus genuine commitment.
Oh, absolutely. They're like expert digital investigators now. Brands have to prove that alignment. It requires measurable action, not just clever taglines. This means connecting their products to their stated ethical values and then backing it up. Proving that connection with verifiable, measurable activity, whether that's through, say, public audits of labor practices in their supply chain or certified sustainable packaging metrics people can actually check. If a brand's public actions or maybe its corporate leadership's behavior contradicts its ethical marketing, the consumer sees that disconnect instantly and they walk away. Often, like permanently.
That's a high bar.
It is. So the mandate for beauty businesses looking to thrive, really thrive, in this new normal is crystal clear. You need agility, innovation, and you have to be deeply proactively in tune with the evolving, highly values-driven needs of your audience. If a brand just stays rigid, in its marketing or its product development, maybe treating these shifts like they're just temporary trends, it risks becoming irrelevant extremely quickly. Just an intensely consumer-centric future now. Adaptation really is the only path forward for survival.
Right. Okay. That makes perfect sense. So we've established the why the consumer has changed so dramatically. Now let's unpack the what. The specific behavioral shifts identified in the source material. Because these 4 changes sound like the critical data points, the things that should be guiding where marketing budgets really need to go for 2025. So the first one, and honestly, maybe the most profound change identified is this elevation of self-care and mental well-being. It's moved from being maybe a luxury or just an aesthetic thing to being seen as a non-negotiable part of mental health. And you're saying this wasn't just a temporary coping mechanism during the tough times.
Not at all. No, it seems to have cemented itself as a truly foundational shift in how consumers view their relationship with personal care routines. The research here is actually fascinating. It clearly breaks down these 3 core functions that the beauty routine adopted during those periods of intense pressure and isolation. It moved way beyond just aesthetics. It became almost a therapeutic necessity.
3 core functions.
Yeah. The first one observed was stress coping. Simple things like the sensory experience of a routine, the specific textures, the scents, even just the simple repetition. It acted as a kind of physiological anchor, something to slow down a racing mind. Second, it contributed directly to improving mental health by providing these small moments of mindfulness, of self-compassion, And third, and this is really critical, it maintained a sense of normalcy. Think about it. When external life felt completely chaotic, totally uncontrollable, that may be 15-minute ritual of washing your face or applying a specific lotion, it provided a small, reliable, controllable structure in the day.
Wow. That's a massive strategic implication for brands. It means you can't just talk about product efficacy in terms of visual results anymore. You almost have to frame it as facilitating essential emotional labor, too.
Exactly right. And the proof is in the pudding, really. The fact that this trend persists, even as restrictions have eased significantly, proves its permanence. Consumers didn't just drop these routines when life got back to normal. They integrated them. They're now seen as essential parts of daily life. And this means brands are finding success by actually repositioning their products. So, a high-end facial mask. It isn't just marketed for giving you a glow anymore. It's marketed as a tool for, say, mandated downtime and self-compassion. Or a new perfume isn't just a nice scent. It might be framed as an olfactory wellness tool, specifically designed to evoke calm or even lower cortisol levels. The whole marketing language has had to radically change to prioritize that emotional return on investment, often over the purely aesthetic one.
So it's about the ritual, the feeling, as much as the result?
Precisely. Brands that explicitly market their products as part of a self-care ritual, rather than simply a solution to an aesthetic problem, they're seeing more sustained loyalty because they're connecting with the consumer's really deep personal need for internal stability in what still feels like a pretty chaotic world. Hashtag 2.2. Shift towards sustainability and ethical practices.
Okay, that makes sense. The second major shift you mentioned seems to follow directly from that period of self-reflection during isolation, this flight towards uncompromising sustainability and ethical practices. So consumers spent that quiet time reflecting more deeply on their purchasing impact, and that translated pretty instantly into demanding more accountability from brands.
Yeah, that's exactly what the data suggests, and it's resulted in a really noticeable, sustained shift towards ethical consumption. And it's sophisticated ethical consumption, too. It's definitely not enough anymore to just slap on buzzwords like clean or natural. Today's post-pandemic consumers are hyper-conscious, really aware of the environmental impact of what they buy. And this is showing up as very specific demands for absolute transparency from the brands they choose. They expect full clarity regarding sourcing practices, labor conditions, production methods, and especially packaging.
Especially packaging.
Yes. The source material really emphasizes this requirement for carbon-conscious packaging. This means the consumer is tracking something far beyond just simple recyclability now. They're demanding that brands account for the total carbon cost of that container's entire life cycle. Think about that. That includes the carbon footprint from extracting the raw materials, producing the container itself, shipping it to the filling facility, and then its verified end of life, whether that's disposal or a genuine recycling process. Brands are literally being asked to provide verified offset data and show measurable reductions for their entire packaging supply chain. It's intense.
So basically, if a brand is caught greenwashing, making claims that aren't backed up by real verifiable supply chain data, the consumer won't just know it. They'll actively seek out the competitor who is more ethical, even if it means paying a bit more.
Absolutely. The outcome, according to the research we reviewed, is pretty definitive on this. Beauty brands that actively promote and, crucially, demonstrate verifiable sustainability and ethical sourcing. They are much more likely to attract a far more loyal and engaged customer base. Loyalty today seems intrinsically tied to values alignment, not just price or convenience anymore. In fact, the data shows that for essential beauty items, consumers are often willing to pay a premium, maybe 15 to 20% more, if they can verify the sustainable and ethical claims behind the product. That really demonstrates that the value-driven decision can now supersede the price point for a significant and growing segment of the market.
Values trumping price. That's a fundamental shift. Hashtag 2.3. Preference for digital shopping and virtual tools. Okay, moving on to the transactional side of things. The third shift, this ingrained preference for digital shopping and, interestingly, the reliance on advanced virtual tools. You mentioned the pandemic radically accelerated this shift, making people comfortable buying even traditionally high-touch beauty products online across almost all demographics.
Exactly. And this comfort level isn't just static. It means the entire digital ecosystem has had to mature exponentially to keep up. The buying process today isn't just influenced by having a decent website anymore. It's actively shaped by specific digital compensations that effectively replace the in-store experience. We're talking about things like virtual try-ons, which are now essential for color cosmetics, plus advanced online consultations, and the role of social media influencers has evolved too, from just simple promotion to providing really detailed, often trustworthy digital expertise and reviews.
Virtual try-ons. Those have gotten pretty sophisticated, haven't they?
Oh, incredibly so.
Yeah.
These now often utilize sophisticated augmented reality AR technology coupled with AI facial mapping. It goes way beyond just sticking a color swatch on a photo. It realistically simulates how, say, a foundation or a lipstick will look based on the user's specific skin texture, the actual light conditions in their room captured by their camera, even their underlying skin tone. That level of fidelity really helps eliminate the primary guesswork, the main barrier that used to exist for buying color products online.
And the online consultations, they're essentially replacing that high-touch expertise you used to only get at the physical retail counter.
Precisely. Consumers now expect this level of convenience almost as a baseline. Online consultations, often delivered via live video with a trained esthetician or maybe a hair professional, they allow for that personalized assessment. They enable product diagnosis based on real-time visual cues from the consumer's camera. If a brand doesn't offer easy access to this kind of expert advice online, frankly, it's just failing to compete effectively in this post-pandemic digital landscape.
Okay, but here's a question, especially for maybe luxury beauty brands. If you move so much into the digital realm, how do you maintain that high-touch, exclusive feeling that really defined luxury retail? Doesn't relying mainly on digital channels risk cheapening the brand experience?
That's a great point, and it's the central tension, absolutely. What the sources suggest is that luxury brands have to find ways to make the digital experience feel more exclusive, not less. This means leveraging cutting-edge tech to create a sense of scarcity, maybe, and bespoke interactions online. We're seeing luxury brands offer things like private, invite-only virtual consultations with their top master technicians. Or they're integrating premium, highly detailed 3D modeling and dynamic video content that really elevates the product visually, way beyond standard e-commerce photos. The goal is to make the entire digital experience feel curated, maybe even rare, and definitely high value, ensuring that the eventual physical unboxing experience becomes the final, luxurious culmination of what was already a sophisticated digital journey.
Making digital feel bespoke. Interesting challenge. Hashtag tag 2.4. Desire for personalization. And that digital expectation, that sophistication brings us directly to the final and maybe the most demanding behavioral shift you outlined, this overwhelming desire for hyper-personalization. It sounds like consumers realized, maybe during that prolonged isolation, that their needs are incredibly unique, driven by everything from stress levels to their local environment, and that generic mass-market products often just fall short now.
Yes, and this is personalization that dives really deep into individual circumstances. It moves far beyond just generic demographics like age or gender. The need for personalization goes right down to the individual's specific environment and even their biometrics. We're talking about consumers wanting a skincare routine tailored not just to their unique skin type, but also combined with an analysis of their local climate. This means brands are starting to utilize quite complex algorithms, ones that can analyze a consumer's zip code, for instance, to adjust ingredient recommendations based on the local humidity, the pollution levels, even the daily UV index. That's a huge analytical leap beyond the old oily trait combination categories.
Wow, climate-adaptive skincare based on your zip code.
Exactly, and it extends to hair care too. Consumers want a regimen customized specifically to their unique hair texture, maybe their specific curl pattern, factoring in any history of heat damage, and even considering the mineral content of the water in their home, which they might provide data for via, say, consumer-facing diagnostic tools or detailed questionnaires.
This level of granular personalization, though, it must require a massive new infrastructure on the brand side, right? For sophisticated data gathering and really rapid analysis.
It absolutely does. It necessitates adopting tools like maybe mobile camera diagnostics that can analyze skin texture and damage levels right from a smartphone picture, or incredibly detailed questionnaires that incorporate lifestyle factors, stress metrics, sleep patterns. The benefit, however, is potentially immense. The sources we looked at state very clearly that brands that successfully offer truly personalized products and experiences are far, far more likely to build strong, long-term customer relationships. Right. Because that personalization fosters this profound sense of being seen, of being understood by the brand. And in this new era, that feeling is probably the fastest, most effective route to maximizing customer lifetime value and achieving genuine brand advocacy. Okay, so those four behavioral shifts, the self-care focus, the ethical demands, digital comfort, and that intense desire for personalization, if those really define the new consumer, then what are the most actionable steps? What should brands be doing right now? The sources point to four main adaptations needed for marketing success going forward. Hashtag 3.1. Embrace digital-first marketing.
All right, the first essential step seems pretty clear based on everything we've discussed. Fully committing to a digital-first marketing approach. That shift to digital isn't reversing. It's now the primary way, the essential way, to reach the audience where they spend the vast majority of their time, which is overwhelmingly online. So this means investment areas have to be strategic and really focus squarely on digital channels. Brands need to invest heavily in the social media platforms that allow for that deep two-way interaction we talked about. They need to deepen and expand their influencer partnerships, but maybe prioritizing education and authenticity over just reach. And they need to strategically target their digital advertising spend to reach those hyper-personalized segments. Yeah, if a marketing strategy is still allocating the bulk of its budget to traditional channels, it feels like it's just structurally missing the contemporary consumer.
Completely agree. And this is exactly where technology provides that decisive edge we mentioned earlier. The research explicitly suggests brands need to move beyond just having a basic digital presence. They really need to consider implementing AI-driven tools. specifically to provide those hyper-personalized recommendations we just discussed, and fundamentally to enhance the entire digital shopping experience.
AI-driven tools, tell me more about that.
Well, AI is moving into predictive and dynamic modeling now, far beyond just generic product pop-ups. It can leverage all that consumer data we talked about, location, real-time weather, purchase history, stated preferences to provide deeply customized, almost predictive suggestions in real time. So for instance, imagine a high pollution warning is issued in a consumer city. The AI could dynamically push targeted recommendations for, say, antioxidant-rich serums or barrier-repairing creams specifically suited to mitigate that local environmental damage. It anticipates needs before the consumer even fully registers them. It transforms the digital experience from just browsing products to receiving genuine, timely service.
That really does bridge the gap, doesn't it, between digital convenience and that feeling of humanized personalization that's often the hardest thing to achieve in e-commerce.
It is. The brand is no longer just reacting to a purchase. It's proactively helping to optimize the consumer's routine. It positions itself as an essential part of their wellness management, not just a retailer selling stuff. The strategic use of AI helps ensure the recommendation system feels accurate, relevant, and deeply personalized, which should significantly reduce shopping friction and really enhance the perceived value for the customer. Hashtag 3.2. Incorporate sustainability into brand messaging. Okay, the second key strategy directly addresses that ethical mandate we covered. Brands absolutely must overtly and crucially, measurably emphasize their commitment to sustainability. And they need to embed it seamlessly into the core brand messaging to genuinely connect with post-pandemic consumers. And again, this commitment has to be demonstrated through tangible actions and radical transparency. It's not just talk. This means showcasing not only their eco-friendly products, but also detailing their ethical sourcing practices, maybe using things like QR codes on product labels that lead directly to, third-party verification of their supply chain audits. It requires highlighting their carbon-conscious packaging choices with published metrics, actual data, not just vague claims about being recyclable.
So this really moves the brand beyond just being a seller and into being a kind of transparent educator for the consumer.
Precisely. Marketing has to fundamentally shift beyond the simple sales pitch. It needs to become highly informative, educational even. Brands need to be creating content that actively informs consumers on how the brand is contributing to a better world. This could be detailed video explanations of regenerative agriculture practices they use for sorting ingredients, or maybe infographics that clearly break down the logistics of their closed-loop packaging system. When a brand transparently demonstrates that its actions truly align with consumer values, it builds this incredibly strong foundation of trust. And that translates into long-term loyalty. Hashtag 3.3, offer virtual consultations and services.
Right. The third adaptation, then, it capitalizes on that convenience factor and the high service expectation that consumers clearly got used to during the pandemic, which is offering formal, high-quality virtual consultations and services. It sounds like consumers now view this kind of access as a baseline expectation, not just some nice added bonus.
Exactly. Brands need to formalize this convenience, package it almost, into a premium yet accessible service. This means providing sophisticated online beauty consultations, ones that are personalized, professional, and importantly, easy to schedule. We're talking about maybe licensed technicians offering live virtual demonstrations, teaching specific application techniques, or perhaps assessing skin conditions via video call. It directly compensates for losing that physical touch point while delivering bespoke, valuable advice.
And the benefit for the brand?
Well, for brands, this strategy offers a really critical dual benefit. First, it obviously adds massive value to their service offerings, dramatically elevating the customer experience beyond just a simple transaction. But second, and maybe more importantly long-term, it actively builds trust and deep engagement with their audience. When a brand provides personalized, high-quality advice virtually, it positions itself as an authority, a trusted guide, a partner in the consumer's wellness journey. And that's far more powerful, much stickier than just being a seller of products. Hashtag 3.4. Highlight mental health and well-being.
Okay, and finally, the fourth core strategy you mentioned is about aligning brand messaging much more closely with that pervasive self-care component of the post-pandemic mindset. Since beauty routines became so integral to mental stability for many, brand communication really has to reflect this new emotional reality. So this communication needs to explicitly focus on highlighting exactly how products contribute to mental well-being, to relaxation, even to the self-confidence that comes from the routine itself. The whole conversation needs to shift maybe away from merely covering imperfections or striving for some unattainable ideal, and instead focus on affirming and enhancing the ritual of self-care. It's back to that emotional return on investment idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And therefore, the engagement content brands create has to evolve significantly too. Brands need to move towards sharing things like authentic testimonials, real customer stories, and content that explicitly showcases the emotional benefits people get from using their beauty routines. So instead of just showing, say, clinically measured before and after photos focusing on skin texture changes, a brand should maybe prioritize sharing a story. A story about how their nightly skincare ritual became a cherished, non-negotiable moment of peace for someone during a highly stressful period.
Genuine, empathetic storytelling.
Exactly. That level of storytelling resonates far, far deeper with today's value-driven consumer. It validates the consumer's own decision to invest time and resources in their mental health, and it positions the product as an essential tool, a facilitator for that necessary downtime. This approach builds that deep, sustained connection by prioritizing affirmation over aspiration. It feels more real. Hashtag tag outro. So if we synthesize this entire body of research, the core message for the beauty sector seems, well, undeniable, really. Navigating this new landscape requires brands to be exceptionally agile, relentlessly innovative, and just deeply, deeply in tune with their evolving audience needs. The future of beauty is explicitly customer-centric. It's built on measurable ethics, sophisticated technology, and genuine connection. The key to success, really, is rapid, holistic adaptation. The brands that are going to lead the industry forward, they're the ones that not only understand the four behavioral shifts we detailed, that self-care focus, the ethical demands, digital comfort, and personalization, but they actively anticipate them. They stay absolutely authentic and transparent in their claims. And they utilize technology like AI and AR to deliver seamless, engaging experiences that genuinely foster long-term loyalty. The new normal is defined by transparency, ethics, and a real relationship with the consumer. It just is.
And since this deep dive is specifically designed to give you, our listener, actionable strategic knowledge, we want to conclude by posing the strategic questions identified in our source material directly to you. For your further consideration as you plan your next moves, how can your brand move beyond just surface-level claims? How can you integrate verifiable ethical sourcing and carbon-conscious practices right into your core brand messaging? And what specific digital tools, whether they're AI-driven personalization engines or maybe high-touch virtual consultation services, what can you implement today to start building those crucial, hyper-personalized, long-term relationships with your audience? Really think about how your brand makes that shift from just being a vendor of goods to becoming a genuine partner in personal wellness, because that shift, that really seems to define relevance in 2025 and beyond.
Thanks for tuning in to the Song for Beauty podcast. This is a place where beauty meets community and it meets strategy and ideas. If anything resonated with you, if you were inspired, if ideas were sparked by this podcast, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, also share it. Be sure to check out www.samb4beauty.com. Stay tuned, and we hope to see you at the SAMB for Beauty conference this year in November. It's a virtual conference, November 5th through the 7th. There's a lot of great resources. You're going to access workshops, one-to-one consultations and membership. And then there are quarterly webinars for knowledge, and there's a knowledge base that you can access, all to support your efforts as you look at expanding some of your sales and marketing efforts for your business. We appreciate you checking in. Make sure to follow and check out the next episode.